Lesson 10.4, Adding Mixed Numbers. Once again, this procedure can be done in 3 simple steps. Let's look at step 1. Make equivalent fractions to ensure common denominators. What we need to do is, we know we can't add or subtract numbers if they have unlike denominators. So in this case, we have 3 1/2 and 4 2/3. Those are unlike denominators, so we need to make sure we have common denominators. To do that, we need to list down all the multiples of our 2 denominators. We have 2 and 3, so we list the multiples of 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. We see that the least common multiple is 6, so we are going to change our denominator to be 6. To do that right here, we have to multiply 2 times 3, and if we do it to the denominator, we need to do it to the numerator, so 1 times 3, and that's going to give us 3 3/6. And for this one, we have to get the denominator to 6, so 3 times 2 is 6. So we do that to the numerator and multiply that by 2, and that gives us 4 4/6. And that's step 1. Step 2, you add the fractional parts. So the fractional parts are exactly that. They're the fraction part of the mixed number. So we're going to take this one and bring it down, and take this one and bring it down. And when you're adding, remember you just add the numerators, 3 plus 4 is 7, and you carry the denominator over. So that gives us 7/6. Moving over to step 3, we're going to add the whole numbers and simplify. Sometimes you forget to simplify. Don't forget to simplify. So we take the whole numbers, 3 and 4. So we'll add 3 plus 4 gives us 7. We already added the fractional parts in step 2. We bring that over, so we get 7 7/6. But we don't want to leave an improper fraction in our mixed number. So we have to make that into a proper fraction. The way we do that is we know that in one whole, there are 6/6, or whatever the denominator is, there's that same number to make 1. So if our denominator was 8, one whole is 8/8. If it was fourths, it would be 4/4. So in this case, with sixths, we need to take 6/6 out of our fraction. So if we take 6/6 out of there and make it into a whole, our whole goes from 7 to 8, and our numerator goes from 7 down to 1. We'll have to do that again in our guided practice, so let's look at our guided practice and see how we do it next time. Question number 1 is 1 7/8 plus 1 1/4. Step 1 tells us we need to make equivalent fractions. So first we have to find a common denominator. So we list out the multiples, and we notice that 8 is the first common multiple, or the lowest common multiple. So to get our first denominator to 8, we multiply by 1. That's pretty simple. So we multiply the denominator and the numerator by 1. And then to get our denominator to 8 over here, we have to multiply by 2. So 4 times 2 and 1 times 2. Our new fractions, our equivalent fractions, are 1 7/8 plus 1 2/8. Step 2 tells us to add the fractional parts. So 7/8 plus 2/8 gives us 9/8. Part 3, or step 3, tells us to add the whole numbers. So it's 1 plus 1 gives us 2. So we combine those and we have 2 and 9/8. So we write 2 and 9/8 right here. But once again, we can't have this improper fraction. And so since we know that one whole is 8/8, we're going to take 8/8 out of our fraction, which leaves us with 1/8. And since we took one whole out, we have to add it to our whole numbers, which will go right here. So our whole numbers now are going to be 3. And that gives us an answer of 3 1/8. And that's all we have to do. Have a great night, and I'll see you tomorrow.